President Mahama and okopiem or Tamale ho baby Ganasco almost 65th anniversary nebusia for and some of the kotu jam so ni beje ho pa. Number 1 a kwan faso Asia and the wife Lordina Mahama and then number 2 the new policy in education bema education Ghana hanum say I papa abusia for e ba beti o pampas media click subscribe button sia we are notification icon we are turning on video the buyer unsa ebekan wo hwe nyina wo like no comment no wa share ama obi nso anya bi ahwe yam ko negotie his excellency John Dramani Mahama and okopiem our Tamale Ganasco omo 65th anniversary or the etudwa and some of the tudwa no education first chance si come dia wuram chese nema bebe o the tudwa menye nsam ne kan yam ko negotie his excellency John Dramani
call and say, my brothers and sisters, for those who have studied geography, we have shorter days and longer nights, and so the sun will fall quicker than it normally does, and we still have the short cuttings to do. So let me just be very brief in what I have to say. I'm very happy to be here for the 65th anniversary of this great school. A few weeks ago, the headmaster and some of the masters of the teachers of the school and several of the old students visited me in my home in Accra and presented an invitation for me and the First Lady to be here today to join you for the 65th anniversary celebration of our dear school. This morning we had to go and join our Executive Secretary, Dr. Kalisus Mahama, at the funeral of his mother in Salaga, and that's why we arrived a bit late, and that's why we are pressed for time. But I'll just say a few words to mark the 65th anniversary. I arrived at the gates of Ganasco in 1971, having finished Achimota Primary. I came a bit disappointed because I had wanted to join my colleagues and my friends that I had made in primary school in continuing to Achimota. And then when my dad decided that we should come to school in the north, my desire was to join my brothers in Damasco because my brother Peter and Alfred had taken the lead into Damasco. But I came a bit late, and Damasco said their school was full. Unfortunately, that was their loss. And that they couldn't take any more students. And so, Mr. Mahama, that was my father, Mr. E. Mahama, there's another school on the Salaga Road called Ghana College. Go and try there. If you go quickly, you might get a space for your son. And so I came here very little, and the headmaster was Mr. Ajete or something. Those of you who are my age group. Mr. Ofori. The headmaster was Mr. Ofori. And so they made me sit downstairs in the common room, teacher's common room. My father went up and went and spoke to Mr. Ofori. I was hoping that Ofori too will reject and then say, okay, then you have to go back to Accra to Achimota. Mr. Ofori came down with my father smiling and said, young man, we have a space for you. And so here is your admission letter, report to school on this date. The rest is history. That's how I became a Ganascan. But for many of you, you don't know the history of how Ghana has advanced in education. During the colonial period, the northern part of this country was considered a pool of labor and also a good source of material for the army and the security services. And so the colonial government deliberately restricted the number of schools in the north because it said if all Northerners go to school, they won't have enough labor to work in the mines and the cocoa farms. And so it happened that by the time Ghana gained independence, the North had the fewest secondary schools in the whole of Ghana. And it was not only in the North, there were parts of the South that also did not have access to secondary education. So our visionary first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, established what he called the Ghana Education Trust Schools. And if you see those schools, you will notice that the architecture is all the same wherever you go. They have the same blocks, science block, administration block. Their blocks are all the same. And so he established the Ghana Education Trust Schools. And among the schools that were built all over the country, the initial number were about 37 secondary schools at once were built. And Ghana Secondary School happened to be one of them. It was completed and opened to students in 1960. And I arrived here in 1971, so it means that the school was only 11 years old when I entered its doors. And when I came, I was posted to Cabral House. And I rose to become Cabral House Prefect. And so we spent 5 lovely years in Ganasco. Now at that time, Ganasco didn't have a sixth form. We had only O-level. And so our brilliant students, when they completed Ganasco, used to be poached and sent to Tamale to go and continue their A-level education. It was a headmaster of blessed memory, Alaji B. Fusheni, who established the sixth form. And when he said he was going to establish a sixth form for Ganasco, nobody thought it was possible. He managed to get the school books. He built a brand new sixth form block. He expanded the laboratories and did a lot of work. And so when we finished Form 5, we didn't know whether Ganasco was going to be able to enroll, to get the charter to enroll sixth formers. But lo and behold, Alaji B. Fusheni went to Accra, and all his students who had completed Form 5, who had passed for sixth form, he didn't mind which school you chose. He went and took all our sixth form cards. Much to the annoyance of some. Some wanted to go to Mfansipim, some wanted to go to some big names, sixth form schools. He collected all our forms and brought all of us to Ganasco. And that is how myself, Dr. Alasan Yakubu, Asaga, and so many of our colleagues ended up doing our sixth form here in Ganasco. So Ganasco is a great school. We completed twice, so they say we should use our O-level as our year of completion. Otherwise, some of us have 76 and we have 78. But the 76-year group, I shout out to all of you. Are you here? Beatrice Opoku and all of them, Margaret Dua, and so many others, too many to mention. I want to thank you very much. You've already been told that Ganasco has produced great leaders. At one of the times when I was deputy minister and minister, and even when we were in opposition after the year 2000, Ganasco was a secondary school that had the largest caucus in Ghana's parliament. There were more Ganascans in parliament than any school in the country. I'm not talking about Tamale. I'm talking of the country. Ganasco had the largest number of old students in Ghana's parliament. But we know that our school faces many challenges. At the time we were students in this school, we were just about 400 of us. Today you are 10 times that number, 4,500. When the headmaster said it, I was shocked. But the facilities have not expanded too much beyond what they were when we were there. So you can understand that there's a lot of pressure on the infrastructure. And so even though Ganasco is considered a Category A school because of your performance, I do believe that Ganasco is in need of expansion and more infrastructure and to make it worthy of being called a Category A school. So on the occasion of this 65th anniversary, we're going to cut short for several things. But I remember that on the 60th anniversary, we did our bits and renovated Manzava and Cabral halls. And by the auspices of Lodina, the First Lady, she got the GET Fund to build the Lodina Mahama Hall, which managed to expand the number of girls in Ganasco. And so we need to invest more to consolidate Ganasco's position as a Category A school. And that means that we must build more accommodation for both staff and students. When I was entering your campus, I saw the master's bungalows to the left, and they really look an eyesore. We must provide new accommodation for our staff. I can feel how it is because I lived there myself. After I finished university, I came to give back to my alma mater what it had given to me. And so I came here to do my national service. And I lived in one of those low-cost bungalows. And so I think the time has come for us to expand our staff accommodation. We also must expand accommodation for students in terms of hostel blocks, and I think the Minister of Education has announced that we're going to build a brand new boys' dormitory. That won't be the end. We're going to build additional dormitories. Between now and 2028, we're going to expand the accommodation for students in this school. You also have a difficulty with water, and I want to thank our Oga Asaga, who is chairman of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, for getting the commission to agree to do 4 mechanized boreholes to ease the water pressure in our school. But I want to assure you that next year, work is going to start on the Damango Tamale water station. And so we're going to create a new pumping station. Tamale has always relied on Dalong for water. And so the water is pumped from Dalong through Kumbungu all the way to Tamale. We're getting a new source point for water on the White Volta. And so we're going to pump water from Yape to bring additional millions of gallons of water into Tamale. And once that project is finished, Ganasco's water problem will be a thing of the past. The Minister of Finance read his budget recently, and there were some significant highlights for our secondary schools especially. Ghana has gone through several transitions when it comes to secondary education. As I said, when we were in school, we had O-level and A-level, and then later that was changed to junior high school and senior high school, and then eventually free SHS was brought in, and so there have been various transformations. One of the major setbacks of free SHS was the fact that it didn't have dedicated funding, and so our headmasters like Headmaster Douglas and his staff were always frustrated because the money to run the schools always came late. And so they had to turn into beggars to go around begging for food for children. And I remember in many instances, our northern schools will send an appeal to all students to bring food to feed our students. That is a thing of the past now. Now, because of the dedicated funding for free SHS, we're able to release the money to the schools and to the buffer stock company on time so that children can be fed nutritious meals. But one of the initiatives that we are coming up with is to try and resolve the problem of the school placement system. The school placement system has run into problems because schools are categorized in 3 categories. One is category A, the second is category B, and the third is category C. About half of the student population in secondary school are in what are called category C schools. And most people don't want to go to category C schools. And so we need to improve the infrastructure in category C and category B so that everywhere, every school will be a category A school. That is how it should be. And so, as the finance minister said in the budget, we're selecting the first 30 category C schools. We're going to build science laboratories, we're going to build dormitories, we're going to build classroom blocks, we're going to do STEM laboratories for them so that we can expand those category C schools to either category B or category A, in order that any school that any Ghanaian child gets, he will feel confident that he has a good chance of making it into tertiary education. We also want to, we've identified 30 of the E-blocks that I started that were abandoned. And we're going to put the resources in and finish all the 30 E-blocks so that we can expand the space in secondary school for our children. But we are here for Ganasco. And as was said by the minister, next year we are provisioning for Ganasco a new school bus and then a new classroom block, a new dormitory block for boys, and a new science laboratory, upgrading your science laboratories. And then the best one, a 5,000-seater laboratory, one of auditorium, one of the biggest you would ever find in this country, a 5,000-seater auditorium. But we are coming up with a policy, and I hope that Ganasco will be one of the schools to embrace it. And that is a policy where secondary schools will have a poultry farm and a livestock farm. And so Ganasco will be one of the schools selected. We'll establish a poultry farm here and a livestock farm so that you don't have to go to the market to buy your meat. You take your meat from your own farm. And so when we have the farm, you have to be volunteering to go and feed the chickens and the sheep and goats. And again, headmaster will have no excuse when you go to the dining hall and there's no meat in your food. And so we'll select Ganasco as one of the early ones to participate in this program. So on occasion of the 65th anniversary, I wish to thank you, myself and Lordina. And for many of you, I came back to do national service, and at the time, Lordina was in Form 4. I know the girls like to hear this story. And so I taught her for my national service year, and then she finished Ganasco and went and became a teacher in Banvin Primary. And so when I came back and I met her again, she had finished school, and of course I was also a very young, handsome man. And so the rest is history. In Ghana we say your ears fit you too much. Thank you. God bless you.
Onye je video no panti fo adwenkyere ego comment section wo wi an wa like no wa share ama obinsu anya bi ahwe ahe pampa so ni amadi kaka che o say mo de papi edi amamo keep say obese videos na mamamfo bibi na omatim ahwe makra